Salutations from space and aloha from Earth. From Sedona, Arizona. Friends, this is Gemini Brett. I'm spaced out. It's time to astrologize. The third gate of the triple eclipse portal opens in less than 12 hours time. I'm recording from Sedona, Arizona. It's about 3:15 p.m. on August 10th, 2018. And as the moon meets sun tomorrow in Leo, close enough to the north lunar node, shadow strikes the land, the soul of moon, shadowing the spirit of the sun to remind us that soul is the same size as spirit, but a little closer to home here in matter. One of the reasons why we embody, I suggest. It's fun to see a Facebook reminder or a memory pop up today of something I posted last year, which is, well, maybe what the priests of old told us to stay inside during an eclipse, because they were actually talking about us going within and being in that space where we can do the inner work and the inner shift. So it's an amazing time, and not entirely rare, but rare enough, these triple eclipse gateways. This is the, I think, fifth in a series of triple eclipse transmissions that I've recorded in the last month, since we had the first eclipse on July 12th. Or 13th, depending on where you live, that opened the portal. A solar eclipse, a partial solar eclipse in the sign of Cancer. And then a couple weeks later, a total lunar eclipse, the longest total lunar eclipse of the 21st century, in the sign of Aquarius, speaking of the dawning of this new age. And that was when July 27th. And now tomorrow, August 11th, 8/11, we have a partial solar eclipse in Leo. So a triple eclipse, kind of rare, not entirely. And one of the videos of this series was devoted to eclipse astronomy. So there was a cosmology video, an astronomy video, a ritual video, which is still totally available to you if you choose to engage with this magically, to get into our own shadow and bring in the highest light. That's the opportunity, and the quickening, the acceleration of eclipse time. And there was a video about the Cancer solar eclipse and the Aquarius total lunar eclipse, and here's the video of the partial eclipse in Leo. So how is this treating you? And some of you are watching this in the future, on YouTube or here on Facebook. Some of you are watching this live on Facebook. Some of you experts in the way of remote travel perhaps already watched this from what I consider to be the past. I don't know how that thing works, but I'm very glad you're here. Your present is the greatest present, and I really appreciate having the opportunity to share and tuning myself as a terrestrial translator for the celestial symphony. It's really my calling, at least in this point of my path. So it's an honor to have the opportunity to share, and I very much appreciate it. I saw a couple people in Sedona this week, for old friends and new friends, and say thank you for what you do. And it really lifts my heart. So I appreciate you being here. And if you like this video, I would love for you to hit that like button wherever you're seeing it and share it around, because it really helps the cause. Yeah, because one of the ways that this helps me too is not only when I take the opportunity to tune in here and share, which is a great honor, it also helps me tune into what's alive and opening that channel, if you will, which is not only me, but also you, wherever, whenever you are. It helps me hear what the symphony is singing at this time. So it really is a great honor. If you want to like and share, it really helps the cause, because people see this and some like the way that that I transmit for the planets, and then they'll go over to MoreThanAstrology.com, which is my site, and book a session, and that keeps me alive. So that's very much appreciated as well. There's also a donate button at More Than Astrology if you'd like to give back. It costs monthly cash to be able to broadcast live like this through Zoom and whatnot. So enough of that right now. Maybe a little more at the end. Yeah. I would love to share a little bit personally about what's going on for me in this triple eclipse gateway. And well, that might actually be like another video in and of itself. We can do a little chart work. We often in astrology want to do our research whenever our new ideas, whenever, and we'll go to, global events or famous people charts. But there's something too, and it's, requires some transparency and sometimes difficult authenticity. I really like to share my own chart and say what's going on for me, because, I'm the person that I know best. Maybe the only person that I kind of know. And it's been quite a portal. I'm in Sedona because I came to study with a friend, Maurice Fernandez. He's a wonderful astrologer. I was here last year, actually, just after he moved from Hawaii to Sedona, and had the opportunity to sit with him at his house. And we recorded a conversation that was a little bit tuned into the total solar eclipse of August 2017. We were speaking about a month before them, but really we were speaking about how there were 2 Leo new moons last year, and speaking about the first new moon that wasn't the eclipse, and speaking about the Leo Aquarius axis and the Leo Aquarius Taurus Scorpio thing, these fixed signs we say that have been honored in so many ways, and Ezekiel's chariot of 4, bull and lion and eagle and man and that. And it was really a fun conversation. You can listen to that if you'd like at my SoundCloud page, which I don't post to often enough these days, but that's just go to soundcloud.com and you can search Gemini Brett, or you could search online Gemini Brett, Maurice Fernandez, and that'll bring up a few things, because we're going to be co-hosting with Owner Doser a retreat in January in Mexico next year, 2019. I'll tell you more about that later down the road, and also I'll tell you at the end of this video more about the Astrologer event, that organization for professional astrology that's created, that will be in early October of this year, 2018, in Tucson, Arizona, where I'll be guiding 3 days of intensive astronomy for astrologers. And Maurice is the president for OPA, and they've given me a lot of opportunities. So anyway, when I was here with him last year, and we recorded this conversation, he said some things about Leo, Scorpio specifically, that really resonated with me and opened new portals of understanding and seeking in the ways of these archetypes in Aquarius. And I've had the opportunity last October, where I spoke at OPA's retreat in Zion. I studied with Maurice there a little bit, and really love the depth that he opens up into the chart. And it's a very different approach with the chart and with astrology than my own. So I've studied, many paradigms. I started with shamanic astrology, Daniel Jamario's paradigm, and Hellenistic astrology, and medieval, and some Renaissance and Hermetic and evolutionary astrology from a few different point of views. And so anyway, I really like how Maurice does it, and it's tricky for me. So one of the things that I think I answered in this eclipse portal is that the total lunar eclipse, the middle, kind of is where it was centered. It was in my 9th house of higher studies and Aquarius, a sign that we often associate with astrology, and 9th house of travel and long distance travel and other cultures. So I don't know that I traveled to another country, but I traveled here to Sedona to study in depth with Maurice in a group session, and Maurice speaks a very different language of astrology than I do. To really honor some of that ninth house-ness, you know, and it's a significant challenge to me. It's really eclipse. How can I eclipse some of my own astrology, where I'm at this point right now in my young astrological career where I'm very comfortable engaging with a chart and comfortable knowing that typically in sessions I can really open a space and hold space to help people tune into themselves and heal themselves and know themselves. And, you know, it's like, why do I want to throw a monkey wrench in that and bring in a whole nother approach where some of it's completely contradictory, some of it's incredibly complementary? How do I find, you know, and compromise and find a window in there and add a bit? You know, I'm a jazz musician, and so that's just the gig. And it's much like we always do as humans, a little bit from there, a little bit from there, a little bit from there, you know, and these things that we love and people that we honor as true teachers, and then we can find our own way. Yeah. So there's been several times in my young career where I'll go and say, okay, this is great, and it's not quite enough. I'm not there yet. You know, I need to like continue to study. I mean, one of the things as an astrologer is like, it's endless. Just our natal chart is endless, right? But there's so many ways to pet the cosmic cat, as I'm fond of saying, and I really want to honor the moniker I've chosen of Gemini Brett and look at the many ways of truth, and also just continuously expand myself. But it's also very important when we do that to keep our feet on the ground. So another thing about studying with Maurice this week has been seeing how he holds and leads a retreat, because that's something I do and something I'm opening to doing more and more. And, you know, for Maurice, it's wake up at 5 a.m, hike out to one of these beautiful sites, sit and have Kundalini yoga, and then go back and eat and maybe shower. And then it's like 6 hours of astrology of lunch break, right? Maybe more Kundalini. And so that embodiment path, and Maurice, who like me, Gemini moon, Scorpio sun, is also a very different being, and a very inspirational leader and teacher. And so it's been nice to sit in that glow and to experience that leadership, and to witness, you know, different ways to not only pet the cosmic cat, but also different ways to lead a group of people. And I'm very fortunate because I was allowed to exchange for my attendance, sharing some of the astronomical, right? So night sky stuff, and we have these beautiful dark skies and this Milky Way everywhere, and it's been an incredible opportunity and journey. And the other part of the trade is to help Maurice, now that he's got a permanent residence here in Sedona, to help him construct medicine wheel, stone circle, sundial, these different things, right, that help us celebrate the marriage of heaven and earth, to experience and receive the teachings, which is one of the parts of my work and my gift and my sharing. I look forward to opening further and further of helping people on the land that welcome them to, you know, honor that connection of the above and the below, in actual physical structure, and to connect to the directions and the directional zodiac that we celebrate as tropical astrologers, and yada, 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 right? So it's been a great kind of celebration for me personally of this 9th house, Aquarius, total lunar eclipse. And the solar eclipses, the first being in the sign of Cancer, and the second or the third of this eclipse portal tomorrow in the sign of Leo for me personally, and the third and the fourth house, depending on house systems, right? So I can either say second and third place, as I like to say, that's the old word, topois, place for the houses. So from a whole sign perspective, every Gemini rising like me, as Cancer is the second and Leo is the third. But I've really seen that this kind of third house, fourth house signatures is resonating maybe more with my personal experience. And maybe that's because I'm choosing to map my personal experience and practice astrology, you know, spiritually and as a yoga. And so why the third? Because the third is learning and understanding, also communication. So I'm working on that, as I've expressed. And why the fourth? Because the fourth is home and roots. And one of the things that's happening for me in this eclipse season is I'm selling my house to move to California, which I've mentioned throughout the series. But Mercury retrograde now, right, in Leo. It's a Kazemi a couple days ago on August 8th to begin a new 4-month Mercury cycle. And Mercury's retrograde in my 4th house, at least quadrant house. And I'm moving back to California. And it was amazed, because I'm always amazed, I don't know why astrology is so real, to remember that the last time I moved back to California was 18 years ago, which was the same Saros cycle of this triple eclipse, the same 3 eclipses in their last breath of their particular Saros family. So you might want to tune into what you were doing in the year 2000, 18 years ago, and see if there is a connection now or of some pattern. So I'm moving back to California. So what about the nature of Leo and Cancer anyway? I mean, it's amazing to celebrate a triple solar eclipse, or a triple eclipse season, which is kind of anchored by these 2 partial solar eclipses. In Cancer, traditionally associated with the moon, and Leo, traditionally associated with sun, right? I mean, what is an eclipse but Earth, moon, and sun, the syzygy of the great 3 parts of the philosophy. And so, I mean, to have a triple eclipse in what, Aries, Libra, Taurus would be beautiful. But to have them, and they typically are in these seasons of Cancer and Leo, surrounding either a total lunar eclipse in Aquarius or in Capricorn, it's a pretty amazing thing, because we're really tuning into the nature of moon and sun. We could say yin and yang. We can say nurturing and family and passion and creation. How do those things blend? I mean, when we're safe and we're sheltered and we have a place where we can rest in the dark of the night and connect to the height of the dream and bring that light through us in our own creation and our own passionate gift, we're really doing that. So I'm really stoked that my beloved Anna is here. She came at the end of the retreat to be with me, to be together for a couple of days, and for this hardcore hike today, and like really honoring that fire. It's been hot. Yesterday we were out and got poured on in this monsoon, and put on the ponchos and ford through the Oak Creek in Sedona with just like hail coming down, right? So feeling that water and that fire of Cancer and Leo, and feeling that nurturing gift and support of one another and family. And then also the passion, right, in Leo, and the creative gift in that way of, what are we willing to rise like the sun for? This is something that Maurice says about Leo that I love so much. It's like the why we wake up, like the sun every day. All right. So, and yet as much as we plan, right? So I can say, all right, I'm going to rent out my house in Seattle. I've been here 18 years and I miss the stars, and now there's love in California and family in California. My sister, 3rd house, recently returned to California where my mother lives, 4th house maybe, I'm going back to California, and then difficulties, well, things we can't plan for. One, I thought I would rent the house and move down, and then suddenly it was like the day Mercury station retrograde, maybe I should sell this house and like commit a little bit more to this move, because some of the rent thing is like I can still have this safety valve of going back to my old life where I'm comfortable now. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should actually kind of go all in and see, and things seem to be lining up that way. I'll find out. Yeah. But then I also yesterday we just received really difficult news. My mother's been getting blood tests for the last year and a half. I had Saturn in Sagittarius transiting my Gemini moon at the time when my mother first found out that she might have a condition, MDS, that often leads to cancer, worst case leukemia, and getting these blood tests again and again. And they would kind of, get worse and get better. And so this week found out that she got, you know, the worst numbers yet, and likely will have to start treatment. And so that's tricky, and that's eclipse in the 4th house, right? So the one that I plan is like, all right, I want to make some space for eclipse in my life, and also I have a lot of Uranus going on, and Uranus opposite my sun, Uranus square my Leo Saturn, Uranus will oppose my natal Uranus, a time of great change in life, and how can I make myself free for that change to come in? And as I love to say, choose change before change chooses me. And some of that is like, okay, I'll eclipse the house. I'll change a lot of the patterns and habits that I've gotten stuck in. In the process is kind of the devotion, and we'll see if the discipline will come in to support that. But then some things happen that we can't plan on, right? So the eclipse in the 4th house of like, yeah, I'll sell the house, but then the eclipse in the 4th house of mother reporting these difficult time of difficulty, and my sister as well, who's going through difficult times, and going through divorce. And so for the first time, her youngest is not with her on my niece Paige's birthday today, and instead with, anyway, right? So we can feel this eclipse stuff in my 3rd house, which is my sister, sibling, among other things, and my 4th house, which is my mother and home and roots, among other things. And how can I center in that? And where is the test for me? And how can I bring light from the shadow? And that for me personally, you know, that's always the question, as far as I'm concerned, on the path of evolution, the path of awakening awareness. You wouldn't be listening right now if that's not where you were, unless you're like, you know, heckling and writing a comment below of this astrological nonsense. And that means also, you know, sometimes these things that we most ridicule are exactly what we're meant to become. I can't tell you how many times 10, 12 years ago, touring as a young musician, I spoke the term crystal-toting hippie, not knowing that I was destined to become just that. You know, and here I am meditating in Sedona vortex sites, and I love it, right? So maybe if you came here just to ridicule astrology, it's simply because you're meant to astrologize, my friend. Join in, water's warm. So let's astrologize. Let's head to the chart and check out the general chart for this partial solar eclipse in Leo tomorrow. Maybe look a little bit at the month ahead. I've got about 24 minutes to do that, I think, because then I'm off to tune into Astrology Hub's Inner Circles Guide of the Month, who's Divina del Sol, speaking about this lunation ahead. Inner Circle of Astrology Hub. If you don't know about it, check them out at astrologyhub.com. The Inner Circle is an amazing program. $27 a month to have a different astrologer guide, do a new moon forecast ceremony and masterclass, and then the same couple weeks later for full moon, and answer questions for the month. And I'll be the guide next month. I'll be the guide for the Virgo lunation beginning in early September, and I hope you'll join by then and join me. I'm going to teach some really fun stuff. And today begins the new moon presentation with Divina del Sol, and that's at 4 p.m. So I'll be going over there. Anna is the program manager for Astrology Hub's Inner Circle, and so, you know, I'm even more tuned in than I was before we started dating. Anyway, so let's get to this chart and see what is what. Speaking of Anna, she co-created this for Arts of the Chart. And speaking of the Arts of the Chart, here we go. So 3 eclipse rings here. The inner ring is the partial solar eclipse in the sign of Cancer, 21st degree, which I've already presented about. The middle wheel is the total lunar eclipse in the sign of Aquarius, which I've already presented about. And this outer wheel, this coming partial solar eclipse in the sign of Leo. So let's tune just into that one. and I've have it here cast for nowhere, right? And this is something that we do in astrology by using what's called the natural houses, or a 0 Aries wheel, where we put 0 degrees Aries here on the cusp of the, it's really not the horizon, because this is looking at the whole globe, or the signs really, and this is something that I love to teach and would love to share with you in my Astronomy for Astrologers classes. The signs are Earth's houses. So Aries is the first in a way, and this is just to release it from the Seattle chart of where I live now, although the time is set for there. In Pacific time it will be 2:58 a.m. But not to the local ascendant. Okay. So what do we see? I mean, lots happening. The solar eclipse, moon conjoined sun, close enough to the nodes, which is within 18.5 degrees to be an eclipse for a new moon. And that's certainly happening, less than 13 degrees here. If within 11 degrees and 15 minutes, it will be a total eclipse or an annular eclipse, which is kind of a total eclipse. And that's not the case here, right? About 13. So a partial solar eclipse. Pretty close to Mercury retrograde. Yeah. Opposite Lilith. Well, Lilith, which I spoke much about in the astronomy transmission of this series, is where the moon is smallest. So opposite Lilith is where the moon is biggest. In other words, this is a super moon. Wonderful word that the astrology community has welcomed, though it was coined by an astrologer, a win for our team. But we're all in the same team. But so this is a big moon, and I'll just leave it there. The moon is close, larger, would be brighter if it wasn't so close to the sun under the beams where we really can't see the moon at all. New moon is a no moon unless solar eclipse, and this is the case in the sign of Leo. Play. So the spaced out, maybe Aquarius, you know, total lunar eclipse is a Smurf shirt, right? So we want to honor our creative, playful energy, that childlike energy that the Leo mysteries really can embody and present to the realms, you know. I mean, remember, was there a time where we didn't compare our art against somebody else's that was better than ours, and so ours isn't good enough? Remember those times when literally we knew we could do anything we want in this world? That's what we want to tune back into. And we want to eclipse the things that say no, right? And I've spoken at length in the ritual video about, I feel that the greatest kind of opening of this eclipse was centered around a total lunar eclipse in Aquarius, and the freedom and the revolution there and coming into a higher way is like eclipsing some of the patterns of family and culture that would say you're not good enough to do anything you want. This Leo eclipse gateway, fix sign, fix yourself to fix the world in the ways of the fire, bringing out your greatest passions, your creative gifts, your art, your music, your poetry, you know, your sculptures, your paintings. Why? Because all of that is a reminder of your greatest masterpiece, which is you, your life. You are the creator. You are the painter of this incredible canvas. Yeah. So difficult at times, but that is beautiful too. Yeah. Just grab a piece of art off of this Airbnb wall if I can. You know, let's see. There's a message to John here. Actually, let's read this. It says, chit chat, patty whack, give the dog a bone. After all, the hokey pokey is what it's all about. Oh, well, actually, I'm realizing I should stop reading after that. But I will say that this is a piece called Casual Conversation by Debbie Group, G-R-U-P-E. And look, you know, there's a lot of brightness and play and that Cancer water here, and a lot of Aquarian, you know, free art and modern kind of release, but then some darkness here and some shadow and some challenge. Yeah. I mean, that is life. That's life when it's good. So how can I in this time personally, you know, hold space for my mother, for my sister, who are going through great hardship, and be a good son and a brother, and release the need to be some kind of teacher for them or advisor, and just be a son and a brother and give love. That's part of this thing. How can I release myself from the roles that were cast in a way of need for me and my family as in youth, and just come into my own truth and my own light, you know? And how can I look into myself and say, this is also a reflection of my inner disruption? How can I find that place in me and do some healing? You know, I've listened to some teachers recently who said that type of philosophy of these things in the outer world are a reflection of my inner world. I see a storm coming right now, and I can go there, and they say that that's bypass and checking out. I could not disagree more. I feel very much that this is the true shadow work, to see the disruptions in the outer world and the shadows in the outer world, and seeing that and bringing my consciousness within. Again, perhaps when the priests of old say stay inside during an eclipse, they meant to go here and go into us and see our own shadow and bring new light out of it. So that's the challenge. You know, what's alive for you now? It's very likely that for you, or for, you know, people around you, there is some eclipse energy going down and some shadow work to do. You know, may that be the case for you, because it also opens a great opportunity. And is it just today? Is it just tomorrow? No. We'll have another eclipse season in next January, right? It's a total lunar eclipse, January 20th, visible in the States. I'm excited about it. I'll be speaking about that to the NCGR group in San Francisco, and then holding an eclipse ceremony in the Bay Area and San Francisco, and San Francisco Bay Area, probably up in Marin, on January 20th. So stay tuned to MoreThanAstrology.com and come out and join us. But this is the last of these eclipses in this gateway. It's still a new moon, and so we look at the entire lunation ahead of, you know, a month, continuing this energy. But it's, you know, we won't have eclipse season again for about 6 months. That's how it works. So some will say this eclipse is alive for another 6 months, maybe 3 months. That's what I've kind of come into personally, to see that that's when this eclipse season will pass kind of the energetic baton to the following eclipse season, which is January, February next year, 2019. So it's an important time to tune into our intentions and to really honor what's alive for us, and to bring more life through it. This eclipse very strongly aligned to Mercury Retrograde. That, you know, for me, that's bringing us back into the old ways. And when I see Mercury in Leo, he says, like, literally, like, get back into that time when you did not judge your creative, passionate gifts and had no restrictions on just creating. So, I mean, I always, when I'm with people in session, just, what is your art? And I oftentimes I will see an amazing artist chart, and they say, I don't have one. It's like, wait, what? No. What is your art? Or are you an artist? And people will say, no. And it's like, I just heard yes, right? So be aware of that. Come into that. This is one of the greatest callings of embodiment. You are a creator. The fifth, Leo, this is where we remember that. And we are told by our culture to not be full of ourselves. I've been speaking about that that's the greatest gift we can give in this portal of triple eclipse, is to remember that you are supposed to be full of you. No one else. The greatest way you can give light to the world is to shine your brightest, highest light, your greatest creative potential gift. And so if I sit and say, I'm going to make the most amazing painting, but I've never studied painting, I've never done it, I don't have the skills, whatever, it's like, I will make the most amazing thing I can right now without expectations of needing approval from anyone or me. Just make art, you know, put on a show. And that's part of what our life is about. Make show, I say often to myself, especially when things are tricky, you know. This is something I'm told the Germans yelled at the Beatles when they were first playing over there as youngsters. Make show. They want to see them rock out a little more. How can we really rock the stage of life? in life. This is part of the Leo calling. And it's not Leo needs a stage, Leo needs a spotlight. There's truth to that, you know, but there's higher levels. And at one point it's the stage needs Leo because Leo is the spotlight, the radiant one, the shining one, beaming the light, the roaring flame here in your center that burns so brightly you can walk into a grocery store and flowers bloom in your presence, the light of true presence. What can we eclipse that would keep us from being in our highest way? That energy of the fire, the light of the midday sun. Yeah. South for the northern hemisphere, north for the southern hemisphere, the height of the light. How can you tune into that part of you now and give love to the world by first loving you and letting now that cup of your love runneth over, instead of just emptying your vessel all the time by giving everything that was meant for you to all the loved ones. Receive what is meant for you, become full of yourself, and now there's so much of that to share to the world because it's coming from a place of your own reception and inner authenticity. So Mercury retrograde, I think, is saying go back into that. Remember when you were just a kid. So one of the exercises I first heard from the strange channeled being called Bashar, right, of when we're struggling with our art, play with crayons. Because for one thing, it opens that gateway to remembering when we were just kids, you know. And secondly, can you really make a masterpiece with crayons? I'm sure there's crayon artists out there, but it's a tricky thing to do. So you're releasing yourself more from self-judgment, and you're going back into that portal when that castle you built out of sand on the beach, which might just look like some bucket, you know, was Camelot. Let's go back to that place and honor the power and the beauty of our imagination and our art and live life as art. And Mercury says, remember that. And soon he will rise this month as a shining bright morning star, bringing the sun, being the scout, being the messenger, reminding us in this Leo time to shine, 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 shine. All right, so Mercury, 14 degrees, 41 minutes, Leo. I point here to the chart on my screen. You can see it, right? So right here. In a very strong square to Jupiter. Let's get the circle thing going. Did you come? Yeah. Mercury, 1441, Leo, square, Jupiter. Oh, no, it doesn't want to hang out. Jupiter, 14 degrees, 48 minutes, Scorpio. All right, so here's the assignment, should you choose further astrological listening today. That conversation I spoke about earlier that I had with Maurice Fernandez last year. It's called Stellar Lions. You can search Gemini Brett, Maurice Fernandez, Stellar Lions, or go to my SoundCloud and you'll find it there. I need to stand up a little, folks. And Maurice said just an amazing thing about Leo and Scorpio and life and death. And I think that's very much alive in this Mercury square, Jupiter, partile, that means the same degree, right? So 15th Leo, 15th Scorpio, very strong alignment. And Jupiter is the one planet that Mercury will aspect thrice in the same way during this retrograde. In April, when Mercury was retrograde in Aries, Mercury squared Capricorn Saturn thrice. And this season with Mercury retrograde in Leo, first direct coming into square Jupiter, then retrograde square Jupiter, which is like now. And then later we'll station direct on August 18th and come back in and square Jupiter once again. So there's a lot here. There's a lot here where Mercury, who can be so much of how we consciously experience. First of all, he says, be artistic in this way. But what is the square to Jupiter and Scorpio? Jupiter, who opens things up, having ingressed Scorpio, was October 10th, 2017, until November 9th, 2018. Jupiter and Scorpio. Jupiter spends about a year, 13 months in every sign. Then he has a short one, but anyway, about 12 years around the trip, so about a year in every sign. And this year in Scorpio began with the #MeToo movement for very good reason. And a lot of people being called out for misuse of power and spiritual power. We've seen a lot of gurus get called out, and deep out to the women and men who choose no longer to suppress. I love to say about Scorpio, we can serve the suppressed to control us, or we can control the expressed to serve us. You see? We were taught to suppress. We were taught to take pills if we're sad or happy. No. We were told not to say a word if we were abused, mistreated. No. Coming back into our truth. And there's a stage between serving the suppressed to control me, pretending that wasn't me, and then it just becomes all of me, and controlling the expressed to serve me. There's a stage between, which is just authenticity, just the raw coming back and claiming our heart, And hopefully you've been in some of that space since October. And hopefully some happenings in your life have made that space unavoidable for you. Why should I wish that upon anyone? Because we need these opportunities to come into our raw nature of our heart, whether in our pains or our passions, because there's so much out there that's saying, don't feel. And if you do, don't express it. Other people's feelings are okay. Be a healer. Your feelings on. Well, Scorpio is my passions, my desires, my excitement. So you can see here as well, Jupiter trine Neptune. Let me get back to that. I'll say one more thing. So there is this middle point between serving the suppressed to control me and controlling the expressed to serve me. That is just raw authenticity, just blah, I'm fortunate to live in a community of very authentic beings. But when that first is awakening, it's kind of like, I'm very fortunate to live into a community of beings, and I hope this will always be my truth. Let me rephrase that, because our language, this is Mercury in Leo, reminds us that our language, our narration does create. This is Leo in Cancer. Creator, creation, reminds us that our language is literally painting the canvas of our life. So let me rephrase that from I hope to. I will always choose to create experiences and communities where how are you is not a greeting. But we have to be steady, because if we ask that for an authentic being, you might just hear their truth. So you might hear me sharing about, my mother and cancer and my sister and divorce and where I'm at, and, my fears about opening new astrological understanding. And is that also, what is the curse and that gift of, not being sure of how I do it, a session, whatever. We always want to be authentic. And so there is a point where it's just too much, but that's beautiful. Can we hold our own space? How do we do that? By being in our heart and our power, the beautiful power. And this is a Scorpio thing. Pluto in Capricorn speaks about this in ways. Also Saturn in Capricorn for sure. And I will point out that there are these quincunxes, 150 degrees, aversions, some called blind spots. I don't want to get too much into it today, but especially from the solar eclipse to Pluto, Leo to Capricorn. And a little bit less aligned, but very strong from the solar eclipse to Neptune in Pisces. And so we end up with Neptune sextile, 60 degrees, Pluto, water and earth, and the fire, fixed fire, which has nothing to do, we say, with cardinal earth, Capricorn, where Pluto is, or mutable water, where Neptune is. And so this is called a yod. Out of orb for some, not at all for others. And especially where Mercury is, quincunx, or an aversion to a blind spot with Neptune, and then square with Jupiter. And here's the story as far as I'm concerned. So first of all, we honor you if you don't speak astrology yet, and all that just sounds like jargon, and it is. We honor you for wading through those waters to hear then the message in English. I always want to make sure that these transmissions can be heard on many levels. And so also for those who have studied for a long time, let's point all of these things out in the language too. And I hope you're choosing to learn the language, and that's why you're here. What does this mean? Well, there's some tension in, if I want to get into my own self-loving creative passion, is that ego? Is that actually removing me from the one heart and the truth that we are all connected, Pisces? Is it removing me from empathy and healing and loving agape, universal love others, Pisces? Is there a disconnect between that energetic and Leo? My love for me and my creative, imaginative gifts. And so there's a being here, Jupiter and Scorpio, Jupiter, who traditionally ruled Pisces. And on this square, which speaks in many ways of the empowerment of coming into our own will, our own force, and our own power through contemplations of life, Leo, and death, Scorpio, and how that opens us up actually to the portal of oneness. And the truth that we can never heal others or find a way to be truly empathic and sympathetic of others' pain if we don't honor our own. So yes, the experiences of pain and fear that I go through in my life might be very minimal compared to some of the things that others are going through in places where they're experiencing wars and bombings and so much more. But we don't want to, while we want to honor that, you know, and be in a place of gratitude for our life, Leo, we also want to not belittle our own tests and our own pains and our own fears. It is a great portal and place of our own self-empowerment and transformation, Scorpio, that actually helps us come into the one heart. So art is the bridge between science and spirit. The science of the water Cancer, the nurturer, watering the plants to help them grow, watering the children to help them grow, watering our creation to help it grow. The art, Scorpio, my passions, my desires, my excitements, to lead us to the spirit, the one heart, the undifferentiated, all that is, the waters are all one. Yeah, but how can we truly know oneness without knowing the one within? And Jupiter's making a very strong statement this year to remember you and to remember that it's not cool to hide these initiations, right? And not listen to these abusers who would say to stay silent, especially when it's not, especially also when it's us. I'm not allowed to share my pain, my negativity, anything. No. Honor you. Be in your place. Sharing is caring. And self-care and self-love. All right, so I said I was going to stop at 4. I will authentically say that was a lie because I can't continue without, I cannot not speak about some of the other very powerful alignments that are going on. Now, Uranus in Taurus. Uranus came into Taurus in May 15th, 2015. Mars followed Uranus into Aquarius the same day and completed a square, and you can see how strongly they're square now. Uranus stationed retrograde just days ago. We'll head back into Aries for some unfinished business. Aries said to be ruled by the planet Mars. Mars is heading back very soon. Will regress retrograde into Capricorn. Mars, you may know, is closest to us than he was since 2003. That might not feel too long, but that was the closest in 60,000 years. And Mars will get very close again in 17 years. We're in a period where Mars is coming down to Earth, close to Earth, and bringing us an opportunity, I will say, to realign our connection to what is the sacred masculine. But Mars is heading back into Capricorn, a place where Mars was known to be exalted in the traditions of astrology. And here's Uranus in Taurus. We say Venus. Heading back to Aries, we say Mars. And there's a lot of strength here. You can see these alignments, Mars in the early degrees with the South Lunar Node of Aquarius. Square, tension for the sake of release. Uranus in Taurus. The electricity and revolution and higher view, not to get away from the body, but by coming into the body. And I'll say earth technologies will awaken in this time, responses to events that prove how far we've gotten from the heart of our mother. Our bones are her stones, and yet we make these nuclear things that explode and react. And, you know, Fukushima, when Uranus ingressed Aries to stay for some time on March 11th, 2011, is a great portal that also opened up response. And we're going to see more of those responses. And how have we misused our power? How have we, through ignoring our own power, let it run us and become toxic? And maybe brought about waste we feel like we cannot get rid of, but all we must do is innovate. And that's alive now in the Celestial Symphony. So how can, through our own acknowledgement of the initiations we've been through, be inspired to come into imagination and collective imagination and co-create with others to bring release? And not by running away from the body and the heart, it's by running into it. Yeah. So there's this beautiful idea of the marriage of heaven and earth alive here. And it's not meant to be easy. And if it's tough for you right now, celebrate that by asking why. Not why me? Why me? Right? So what is it? An expression of the courage of your soul that's saying there will be new ways, there will be innovations. People want to see humanity itself as some virus. Boring. We are the ones that will find beautiful solutions to the problems that we've created. Not as penance, but to also understand that these problems were here to lead us to beautiful solutions. So we could increase the vibration not only of humanity, but also for Earth herself. We are her moving parts. Or maybe that's a bunch of nonsense. But that's what I hear here in this square. And I'll say it's a time for deep embodiment and to sit in this place, to really move, and then to sit and to feel that connection above and below. So we should be in our yoga, and I mean like literally physical asana yoga when I say that this time, and our exercise, and to allow the fire to move in all directions now. It's a time of great healing. You know, Chiron, who took Prometheus's place, I wrote an article about that recently, and I'll tell you right now before I forget, MoreThanAstrology.com/free will give you an opportunity to enter your email address and receive from me all sorts of free things, including the Prophecy for Prometheus article about the elements and the ways that this year is opening new windows of manifestation through sharing of the great tale of Prometheus and Chiron, who took his place, along with other things, including 12 free astronomy for astrologers or sacred astronomy lessons. So I hope you go over there, morethanAstrology.com/free, and enter your email address. And I'll send you those two things along with a couple of movies I've made in the last couple of years, and some eventually. The whole point of the thing is to sign up for movies that I am making that are addressing the 13th sign conundrum and precession of the equinoxes and the challenges by NASA and such to tropical astrology, and to show you what the actual mechanism in nature is that brings us this amazing sacred science of evolution and overstanding. Anyway, Chiron did come in across the world point to take Prometheus, for Uranus often aligns to that being who created us, it is said, and brought the fire from the sky to give us the creative gift as creators ourselves in the image of the guides. And Chiron came here across the world point that Prometheus or Uranus crossed in 2010, and then again on the day that the Fukushima reactor event happened, March 11th, 2011. And Chiron's here to bring understanding, teaching, wisdom, healing, and open up opportunities in our own soul. So some of you might have heard me say a word that's even more rejected in astrology, which is Atlantis recently, and looking into some of the collective corruption through our own blind spots of the cataclysm that almost wiped us out a long time ago, this pain that's held in our DNA, and how I feel we're in a time now of releasing some of the blocks that will help us heal on a collective level. And I think that's very alive in this Chiron Uranus thing that's going down, and very much a signature of this Leo creative in bringing new fire eclipse, the third gateway of this portal. And I'll say that we're really leading to this, that there's something here that's saying it's about healing ourselves for the collective. And you don't have to remember these things. It's not about getting into the past life stories. It can be, that's cool. Do what you do, you know. But living our lives in our honor, Leo, in our authentic expression of our creative gift, Leo, in our pride, yeah? Pride is not arrogance. Self-love is not ego and vanity. Confidence is not cockiness. Love who you are. Fill yourselves with you. Be proud of what you do. Give your light. And look at these places that say you are arrogant if you do, or you're not allowed to, you're not good enough. This is the thing that we're healing now. And as we choose to engage in an honorable way in our own lives and put our hands on our heart, even when we don't, and say, I'm doing better than I used to. Maybe I'm doing better than my elders did, whatever. And seeing even, you know, just to clean up that expression that I just shared, even in the times where maybe those who came before me in my immediate line, they were also opening the opportunity for healing of so much more. And it's a great gift that we give sometimes, even in our corruption. Chiron opposite Venus, Uranus, quincunx Venus, who is in what's called T-square, Venus, Chiron, Saturn, okay? We're looking Saturn retrograde, Chiron retrograde, and Venus very much direct. In her own sign, we love to say, of Libra, where Taurus is the other one, and these amazing connections that speak about rewriting the rules of love and partnership and peace and balance. It's another theme here that suggests to me that I am not getting out of balance when I'm in my light. Yeah, jealousy might have been alive in your realms and your partnerships recently. Other themes in this way, power play, fear of being in our strength, wanting to give ourselves away, wanting to martyr ourselves. And no, beauty happens and true relating happens not by keeping ourselves small to be equal, by choosing equality in a realm where we are all choosing to be our biggest, brightest, most beautiful selves. Let's let that be our equality. Let's let that be the signature in our relationship. Let's not make rules and conditions and restrictions based upon our own fears. Let's not say we need these boundaries because that scares me and hurts me. Let's honor and express and speak the truth of our pains and whatever it may be. Fears, jealousies. But instead of choosing to restrict our experiences by conditioning our rules through the voice of our fears, let us honor our fears and speak and express them, and then choose to make the boundaries of how I'm going to be in my bright life so we can come into a greater equality, loving relating that will set us free and free us to express this revolution, this new way. To not fear, expressing our creative gifts, rooted in our own power, to not serve the suppressed to control us, but control the expressed to serve us, and root in and ground into the incredible wisdom of our traditions, our elders, our ancestors, the buried ones who are always here to support us, the elders of the land where we are, regardless of how we came there, the elders that came before us in our ancestral lines, regardless of what we might feel in our own judgments about what they did in their lives, our mothers, our fathers, our grandmothers, grandfathers, whatever it may be, to understand that here in the earth game, things are not only what they appear to be. All right. Yeah. So look at Venus, who is at wedge with the lunar nodes now very strongly. Yeah. Coming in, applying to trine the south node, sextile the north node, separating from this opposition with Chiron, square with Saturn, quincunx with Uranus. She came in, even trine with Mars. She came in, she perfected all these things, and she's carrying so much of this chaotic and amazingly powerful and beautiful, expansive conversation to come into her own strength and shine this light that will help these nodes, which are what? Earth, moon, and sun as one, a place of permanent eclipse, a place of permanent light from shadow, shine in a way that helps us expand, express, become, awaken to further awareness of our own life's paths. And still she comes into trine Lilith here. Let's realign our ideas of old patriarchal myths and choose to fully embody here in the earth game, to choose our authenticity, our wisdom, which is earned, not given away, by never suppressing our truth, but by expressing it, as painful or as challenging as it may be. If we feel small because of our fears, let's not be small by suppressing them, but be big by saying, this is me, this is my reality. Will you help understand this? Will you help me heal me and grow so our love can grow? So together, our personal expression and empowered creative gifts in our own release will bring a great release to the world. We'll see that the full moon of the cycle will be in Pisces at Fomolo, one of the royal stars, after the sun is ingressed Virgo, and soon the nodes, as this last Leo Aquarius eclipse for some time is telling us, in the first of this triple eclipse portal in Cancer, is telling us the nodes are moving, as they do, retrograde back to Cancer, Capricorn, and we're coming into the magic of the mundane and the family and the nations. And real world matters. Well, the greatest way we can matter to the real world is remembering that we do, and to choose a path of honor, and knowing that the expression of our highest light is the greatest gift that we can give to the world. Accept that challenge, please. And thank you for coming here and playing with me. I want to show you a thing. I guess I stop my share and open up a couple pages here. If you would bear with me, please. Right, so I'll share once more. Sharing is caring. Astronomy for Astrologers at Organization for Professional Astrology's iAstrologer Retreat. Now, first of all, if you are choosing your career as an astrologer or just want to know more about astrology and how to present yourself, iAstrologer Part 1 is the place to be, and that's the days before this. I believe beginning October 4th. You can find out more about all this at opaastrology.org, Organization for Professional Astrology. Astrology.org, and check out the iAstrologer Retreat. I'm very honored to, for the first time, be presenting Astronomy for Astrologers as an intensive 3-day embodied in-person experience. I'm creating all sorts of amazing animations to share in the classroom so we can bring some of our awareness back to the nature base of astrology. Astrology is so much more than a symbolic language. Astrology is the poetic breath of nature. So we will have plenty of classroom time, but also embodiment exercises and building medicine wheels and sundials, and very much, most importantly, spending time together with the planets, with the stars, with the zodiac, in dark skies. It's the next couple new moons from now in early October. So I hope you'll go check out this retreat. It's going to be at this beautiful boutique hotel in Tucson, so that's cool. And there's plenty of amazing Airbnbs around as well. And the Astronomy for Astrologers portion, it's like really well priced by OPA. I'm appreciative of that. I'm appreciative that they've chosen to make astronomy for astrologers part of their curriculum for certification. I hope that one of the portals of Taurus and Uranus is this. It's reconnecting the study of the heavens to the study of Earth. And as I love to say, renature your astrology and reconnect to the proofs of the equations and the roots of the rules that we use in astrology. So I hope you'll come take this advantage of this opportunity to be in group and experience of the marriage of heaven and earth, to celebrate this harmony. And I hope you'll do this with me as well. So it's a great honor to be leading this. So come on down to Arizona. Also, Sacred Astro course at my website. And you'll find the first 12 lessons for free. MoreThanAstrology.com/sacredastro will get you straight to this page. You can only access the first video until you answer the question at the end of the first, which is the password to the second, okay? And the test question. The second is the password to the third, etc. There's 12 free lessons here. There will be 72 lessons altogether. And if you go to MoreThanAstrology.com free, again, you will see the site where you can enter your email address and get all this free stuff and some to come that I'm looking forward to getting back to. But I got to deal with my shifts in my own life that's happening with opening up in my heart. I got to choose to make sure I'm tuned into my own eclipsing shadow to bring better light. And I hope that at least this transmission, if nothing else, is inspired you to tune into that. So thank you so much for your presence. Brevity is not my specialty, as you know, but maybe I'll learn more about that as we move along too. Anyway, if you like this video, please share it around. That really helps the cause. And if you're in a place where you can support through a financial donation, that would be so gratefully received. It costs money to share here online and time for study and all that. So MoreThanAstrology.com. You'll see a PayPal donate button where you can use your PayPal or credit card to give $1, or $3 or 30,000, whatever it wants to be. And I would very much appreciate that. It's never something I would ever expect, but it's always received with so much gratitude. And today I woke up and saw 2 messages of people who signed up for monthly donations, and it's just like such a treat. So you know who you are. Thank you very much, literally from the depths of my heart, for supporting me and my devotion to study and expand and share and be a channel for the amazing guides and guidesses of our sky and earth. May this eclipse open you to open you. Love and planets, friends. See you in space.